All right. So our first 10 a.m. hangout. Woohoo! Was everybody able to read over 6.7? I hope so, because that's what we're going to talk about today. And then after we're done talking about it and making sure we have a good understanding, then I will send you off so that way you can start working on it. I wish I could do a screen share on this computer, but I can't. But I assume we're all going to be looking at the same document. So the link, I wonder if I can open it in a, is there a Google Doc feature? I thought there was a Google Doc feature. And then moving online. It's just an app. It's not an app. I thought you could share, look at the same Google Doc and at the same time without doing a screen share.
I think I'll be able to see you highlight certain things. I can see your cursor on S.
Yeah, but I'm talking about also for like the recording purposes.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have any experience in that.
I really thought there was an app that you could, or inside a feature inside that you could look at the same document together that wasn't screen share. The screen share is not like that. That stinks. I don't know what it is. I can't search one. I remember doing it before. Oh, this is an app. 1 second. Oh man, you guys, it's a different link every time. Let's see. Boy, I'm sorry, Matt is having trouble getting it. I'm really upset. I'm going to see if I can figure that feature out because I need to be able to do it. Anyways, I'm going to be looking at with you guys the 6.7 document. I shared it in the chat. It's a tiny WebDB tutorial. So you should have an understanding now of TinyDB. So thanks that I can't even do a screen share. I'm closing the chat, so if you have questions, just shout them out, okay? So, right here, I hope you can see. So yesterday you had TinyDB, and the blocks that you worked with.
We can see that high.
Yeah, you're a little high.
I'm going to write, all I did was write TinyDB. I'm going to go this down. Okay?
Yeah, right a little below that.
Yes, I am. I'm going to. So there were 2 blocks that you should have been using. They were called get and store. Okay? So get allowed you to say the tag, and it allows you to get the value. So basically in the database, you have a tag or a key and a value. Okay? So if I say my name is Pauline, that could be my tag, and my value maybe would be my score. So I could say my score is 10. So if I want to figure out my score, I have to say get Pauline, and it will return the value of 10 for me. So you're always working with the tag or the key and then the value. The tag and the key have to be unique. So when you did it with TinyDB, you would do get tag and then you also store, and you needed a tag to store and a value. Okay. So far, so good? Your
Yep.
questions, shut them out. I hope you guys will be able to see if I write over here. So then there was TinyWebDB. You should have read about, right? So this one you also have a get and you have a store. And then you have a tag. So same thing, set up the same way. The difference now is that the TinyDB is stored on the device. This is on the web. So you have something on your device, all you need to do is say get this tag or get this value under this tag and store this value under this tag that I get it. There's no wait time because you're not communicating over a server. You're just communicating with the device's storage, right? So with the TinyWebDB, since it's on the web, you have to talk about request. You have to request something, right? So your get is your request. You're going to send a request out to say, I want to get this tag or this value. So I want to get Pauline's score. So I want to say get Pauline. So that's my request. Just because I request that value does not mean I will get it back or I will get the right value that I wanted. So because of that request, you have another block. So you'll see there was 2 blocks for TinyDB. There's going to be 4 for TinyWebDB. So this is get. The other one would be got. You got value. So you send your request out, and then you have to wait and check until your request is answered. So got value is a whole separate event handler. It's a whole separate event that happens. So in one place, you might say, I want to get the value. Maybe when the game starts, you want to request from the WebDB my highest score. So you send the request, and then you have to get the got value block to say, what do I do once I figure out that the server has sent back my request or answered my request? So you use your got value block to tell the program what to do when that happens, right? So got value, get value is just the request. What you want to happen when you get the value, when you have it, goes into got value. So you separate the two. Whereas this happens like instantaneously. You can get the value and then decide what to do with the value. You can use the value as soon as you ask for it, right? You could have a label that says, set the label to get tag, so it will set the label to say 10, for example. This one you would say, okay, I want to get the tag, I want to get Pauline, and then I get a whole other block and say what to do once I've got Pauline. So this comes with some arguments. So you get the tag from the web database and the value. Too far? Okay. So tag and value. Okay. So you get tag and value as the argument. So you can say if when I've gotten the value from the database, if the tag was Pauline, because it could be that you're getting other information back and you want to check what it is that was returned to you. So if the tag is Pauline, then I can set the label, the score label to say Pauline's score was 10. That's the value. So it gives you more information. This also helps you when you're requesting more than one piece of information, right? So I may have in here highest score. Oh, man. Highest score. So if I have highest score and the highest score ever is 50, if I want to play my game, I'm going to need to have both of these. I'm going to need to know my score and the highest score. So I could request, I could say, get Pauline, get highest score, and then in dot value, I can say, okay, let's check to see if the value, if the tag is Pauline, save this value under her score label. If the tag was highest score, save this value under the highest score in the world's label, right? So two different labels to tell, one for the user and one for the highest score in the world, something like that. So it helps you differentiate between different tags that come back to different values. So similarly, there's store. So for time being, you only have one store. This is, you want to store, you're going to need the tag and the value. You ask that your tag and value be stored. That means you're going to send it up to the database, right? But then you have to wait for confirmation that it actually has been stored. Just because you ask it to store it doesn't mean it will. Whereas over here, you know what's going to happen. It's just going to the phone. But because you're sending this request up to the server, you have to wait and you have to ask, okay, was it really stored? So the other one is value stored, right? And you can do something once it is stored, once it's saved, stored. So once you can say stored tag and value, and then there's another event handler that says value stored, and you could maybe say something like if you were going to save my score into the database, you would say store Pauline 10, and then of course maybe if I had a higher score, so maybe Pauline 15, so I beat my score and I want to save it. So store Pauline 15, and then you want to know that my value is stored. So when this event handler fires, you want to say, okay, maybe give me a notifier that says your score has been saved, right? To verify to the user that it has been successfully saved onto the TinyWebDB. So this is the reason for this, and if you're looking through the document, I think there's a good explanation here. It's asynchronous retrieval and storing. So in the code walkthrough, which I can't see the page number, so it's page 3 of the document. It talks about the code walkthrough, and you see there's lots of information already in here, lots of blocks. So you want to review the blocks and note that there's a lot of variables going on here. So the goal of this is you are the end of Unit 6. It's the end of the year for the students, right? We've had all year. They're coming to the end of the school year. By now, they should be able to write the code and have experience with it, but now they should be able to, as well, look at the code, understand what it's doing, and then add to it, right? So that's why it's like getting used to being able to open a project it's working, it's running, but there's like little things that need to be done. So it shows you the blocks. There's a get value block. So TinyWebDB, get value, so you put a tag in there. Notice that the tag there's a text block, the little pinkish red, that's a text block. So if I use a text block and say get value for tag Android Match Top Score with a text block, and when I get to store, so I get it with 1, and then when I get to store, I have to say, okay, I want to store my tag. I would have to use another text block and type Android Match type top score again. Now, if you look at the example, it says Android Match top score where the first letter of each word is capitalized. That was used for the get. If I, for some reason, miss a capitalization when I'm going to store the value, or I do a misspelling, that will cause it to not work, right? It will end up storing it under a completely separate tag. So using a text block to define your tag, it can end up being a problem, because then if you want to change the tag for some reason, you have to go back through and look in every single place for where that tag was used and make sure it's the same. So to avoid that, you'll notice that on page 4 of the tutorial, it talks about this tag called Universal Top Score Tag. And it shows you how it defines a constant variable. The variable's in all caps to say it's a constant, and Ralph had mentioned this to you back a while ago, and it's kind of a heads up. So all caps for the name of a variable is a constant, and then he defined it as Android Math Top Score. And then for tag, for the parameter for get value, he put in get universal score tag, the variable. So now anywhere that I use the variable, that's okay, but if I want to change it, the tag, at any point, all I have to do is go back and change what the definition of the global variable is. So I only have to change it in one place, right? So it allows it to be more abstract, and you don't have to worry about having any errors. So the document talks about using a constant and the reason for doing that. If you go down to page 5, I think it is, page 5, this is where it talks about synchronous versus asynchronous, okay? It shows you the difference between the tiny DB block, which I was talking about up here. There's a get value, and you have to use the tag. For tiny WebDB, it looks similar, right? It looks like the same thing, but you don't get the value right away, right? So it shows you have to wait. Let's see here. Ralph, I think yesterday talked about for TinyDB, there's the get value block, and then it asks you for a value if not there. So that's if you ask for a tag and nothing was stored there. So if I ask for Pauline, or let's say I ask for Matt, right? Matt's not in my database, so that should mean he's never played the game. It means that his value that should be returned really should be a 0. If he's never played, the value would be a 0, right? If you needed a list for something, if you were saving a list into the database, which is fine, I could say, this is the highest score, and I want to save my name, my score, so I have 15 seconds, and then maybe the time. That would be a list. Okay, so I can save a list under a tag, and then if you had asked for the highest score, but it wasn't there, you really should put the value, if not there, is just an empty list. So that type of what goes in there matters. And I think the default is actually a text 0 when you pull out that block. I think it's a text 0. So you want to be careful about the type that you put there for the value if not there. Why isn't that still having trouble? Sorry guys, 1 second. There's no room. Okay. Well, hi Matt, if you're watching us. Any questions so far?
None here.
Nope.
For me, I just really need to try it more later. I mean, I'm getting the concept, but I know it will be different once I try it myself.
Yes.
I have a bit of a question. Since we're all going to be more or less testing this out at about the same time, won't we all be using the same server and the same tag? So won't we be overwriting each other's top score if we're constantly using the same tag?
Right. Good point. So, in your classrooms, it's recommended that you, well, the top score you would be overwriting if someone beats it and tries to save a new top score, right? Which makes sense. That's what you want to do. If Larry's in one room and Greg is in another, Chris is in one, and then they're all playing the game, but Tony starts playing and he gets a high score, you want that to be updated for all of the players, right? So that makes sense. You want to use that. What the teachers have done in the classroom is if you have 20, 30 people in the same classroom that are trying to figure out and try to play against one another, it can be hard to catch up with everyone who's playing at the same time as far as testing purposes. Like you might have one person who I'm trying to get a 15 and another person got 20, and then I'm trying to get 25, and it just becomes a chase to try to test and see if it's working. So in that case, for your classroom, you can make your own tag, and we encourage you to make your own tag and change it up. Instead of Android Mash top score, like add your initials to it, or add, make it for your class. So Android Mash top score Miss Lake's class, something like that, to make it unique and make sure you guys are only playing against yourselves. So to have that, I would say, if we're a class, I would say your tag that you should use would be Android Mash top score CSP 15. Okay, I'll type it in the chat.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking that it would be very easy to like game the system and change our own programs that you're getting 100 points each time, and then you just overwrite the global top score, and it's now 5,000 points that no one can ever do because it's not set on the program; it's just set on the tag.
Right. And then, so some of the kids, when they figure it out too, they will just go in, because what matters is when you're playing the game, you're scoring 1 point every time you touch him. So what's an easy way to get around that? Like, say, so the highest score is 100, right? And that would mean you'd have to sit there and hit the Android 101 times to beat the score. So an easier way to do that, if it were that high, is just to say, when I hit him, maybe add 100 to my score instead of adding 1, right? Yep, a larger increment. Yep. So that tag, Android Mash top score CSP 15. So that way you guys can use that one just for your group, your cohort. So initially there would be nothing in there, and you'd be playing, playing against one another, just you guys. When you set it up in the tutorial, you'll be okay with setting it up in App Inventor. I think that will be fine. This was mainly to help you get a good heads up and visual about the differences between the two, and then knowing what the variables mean inside the TinyWebDB tutorial, because there are some new variables introduced there. The idea of the constant is there, and we'll have a new tag, so you should be fine. Let's see. Other questions?
Yeah, we're all accessing the same TinyWebDB.
Yes.
But the program needs to be told where that is, correct?
Yes.
So the tutorial doesn't seem to indicate that, but I assume that what we do is we set the... I can't remember what it's called now. There's only one property for this, and I assume we set it in the screen initiation.
No, so on page 3, it tells you here what the database is, what the URL is to the database. So you can click on that. I can share it here, but it's on page 3 of the tutorial.
And it said that it wasn't found.
Definitely should be there.
Yeah, I had the same thing. It says to click in, check it out, and I got a 404 error.
Yeah. So when I actually went ahead and put in the rest of the coding and tried it, and it doesn't work because it can't find it.
I didn't have any.
Okay, no worries, no worries. I will tell Ralph. Is the right one? I have one. Oh!
But assuming that we have the right URL.
All you do is set the service URL property in the designer.
Right. Oh, it's in the designer.
The designer.
Okay. That makes sense.
Which, I don't know, has anybody opened the template yet? I thought,
Yeah, I have I'll paste it right here, but if you go to the designer section of that template once you download it, and then you click on the TinyWebDB icon that's attached to the screen just underneath it, you will see the following URL that I just pasted. It points to that location.
it's there already, right?
Yes, it works.
Okay. So this one is not working, right? So I have to get you a working URL. I will ask Ralph what's going on with this one, and if he can't fix it within the next couple of minutes, There's an App Inventor one, and I've created a couple of them. The students are all creating their own tiny web DBs at the moment. So the App Inventor, Tiny Web DB.
I've been kind of pressed for time, so I went ahead and did it yesterday or the day before, and I didn't have any issues. I don't know if it just recently was taken down, but it was working a day or two ago.
I'll ask him. Another thing that can happen too is it can reach the quota if you keep sending requests to it, right? Someone was trying to do this ahead of time and kept requesting. You can reach the quota in which it resets at midnight each day, I believe it is. So I can ask Ralph to check it out and see what it is. I posted App Inventor's Tiny Web DB, so you can open that. That link is in the chat. I can also put it in the lesson. The difference with this one is they close it so that way you can't see the values and the tags in the table.
Another suggestion would be if certain people are trying this at their school or another organization, they could be blocking that URL, which then it wouldn't report out. That URL potentially could be blocked on the network that they're trying it on. So I know, like, for example, I could go to Conard, and they could potentially have blacklisted that URL just based off of what they thought it could be. And if I went home, it probably would work. It's just an idea.
Yeah, so it's gonna be like once you understand how it's working and everything, we can talk about how you guys can make your own. It's really quick and easy to set up. The hardest part and longest part is just the installation of Google App Engine on your computer. But it's really simple and easy to deploy it, and the students in the other room, they've been doing it. I posted another link. It's called, I put Pauline's with an S. That's why I got it wrong. It's paulinetinywebdb.appspot.com. That's one that I made, and some of my students were using that for one of their apps. paulinetinywebdb.appspot.com. You'll be able to see what the database looks like. It has the key, the value, when it was created, and then you can delete a value. So the ideal thing is when you're talking about when you talk about the database creation and stuff like that, you don't want this stuff to be seen. You don't want to have the delete button public and open, so that way anybody can go and delete it, right? So that's why App Inventor blocks theirs and you can't see anything. You can only store and get values. But this is the end of the course for the students and for you guys. So this is a good way to transition into text-based coding. So the TinyWebDB is written in Python. So if the students go and they're trying to maybe change the text on the page, or they're trying to change the number of entries that are allowed, in order to do that, they have to read through the text-based code in Python. So it's a good, if you have stronger students, it's a good one for them to kind of transition over and start examining and working with text-based code. So for now, I vote that you guys use mine, which is paulinetinywebdb.appspot.com. I will email that to you all and ask Ralph what's going on with ours. To create your own WebDB, again, once you guys get through it, actually, Scott, that one is, I don't think it's updated. I had to contact, they updated the code, so the sample files in there weren't working with that database. So I had to ask Dave Wolver for help, and I know we're still being recorded. I asked Dave Wolver if he had the updated files, and he was gracious enough to share them a couple months ago. So I have a new set of instructions made up that are similar but more direct. So even some of the instructions in there don't tell you that you have exactly where to go and how to set up the project ID. It's kind of like you have to fish around. They kind of get you to the right spot. You have to fish around. It's not very direct. So I've updated the instructions and have the new sample files that have to be used. And even the students for Mobile Apps for Hartford are using the instructions that I wrote, and everything has been fine so far. But I know that they do a good job of kind of getting you to the right spots and right areas, but the sample code wasn't working that they have, and there were some like security issues that they didn't quite explain how to get around them and how to disable certain things. So
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So it's a great overview. If you really are getting into this and you want to look into making your own, it's not required that you make your own, right? If you feel like you want to go in, you want to take a look and see what it's like, it takes about 10 minutes to set up your own. And I think it would be good for your classes to have one so that way nobody else is kind of messing with your values that are in there. But if you don't feel comfortable with it, that's not a problem. You can just use the App Inventor database or one of ours. Like we have so many that we've created. But once you get a chance to go through and actually do the tutorial and get through it, work on the projects, I'd be happy to share the custom TinyWebDB updated instructions with you if you're interested in making your own for your classroom. But one step at a time, try to get the program to work, the app to work, so that way you can share your highest score and play against one another. We go from there. Any other questions?
Let's see. I guess I know I'm going ahead. I guess we're gonna have another web meeting, but I guess you're gonna be talking about 6.12 in another meeting.
6
Looking on the schedule, it says to be announced, I believe.
for the fusion table?
I think so. Yeah, it says okay.
So that's next week, and Ralph is working on it.
Okay. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm. Ralph is working on it.
If your chat's closed, Chris has a question,
Uh,
but his mic's not working, so he's typing.
okay. The store value will store the value, but there's a chance it won't truly store. Is that what the value stored events for, to validate the content of what was supposedly stored? To say that it is, right? You're sending a request out over the internet, right? Sort of like, if you know HTTP, to be an HTTP web request that you send out, and you have to wait till your request is answered. So there's that wait time, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to be able to connect to the server. Right? Yes. And to help you determine if you've asked for two different tags to be stored, or the same thing with the get. If you ask for two different tags to get from the database, you can distinguish what to do depending on which one comes back. Right? You can say if it was Pauline was the tag, do X. If it was Chris that was the tag, do Y. So there's a couple of different things that it does. There's a get and a got, a store and a stored. So it's 4. Whereas TinyDB has get and store, and that's it. Okay, sounds good. Who's here? So I see we have 2 viewers, so if anybody is viewing, I'm about to check the Q&A, so if you have a question, type it in. Here we go. Okay, so that's Matt. I'm seeing this is older stuff. Matt, do you have any questions? I know you're viewing it. If you do, type them in. I think we're okay. Nothing's coming in. So we're good. We feel comfortable enough to go and try this on our own.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Good. Remember to use Pauline, tinywebdb.appspot.com. And I will ask Ralph what's going on with the other one. But Pauline, tinywebdb.appspot.com. Check out what's there and how it saves it and stores it, kind of play around, get familiar with it. And then get to working on the tutorial. And good luck.
Yeah, and using that tag that's right behind you, MCSP15 at the end.
Yep.
Okay.
You're welcome to use the one that's in the that's in the tutorial, but that means you'll be competing against whoever last used it. And that also depends on what database you're using. Like there was no Android Match top score in my database. In Pauline tinywebdb.appspot.com, that tag doesn't exist. So.
Pauline, could you repeat that URL again so I could just try that database too?
Pauline tinywebdb.appspot.com.
Pauline tinywebdb.
Yep.
What was the ending?
.appspot.com. So I put it in the chat, and I think.
Yeah, I just retyped it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Because yeah, like I didn't get any 404 errors when I tried it. I did get an argument error, and if I ignored it, it worked. And then when I hit save, it saves. I went back to it just a second ago and put in my name, so the tag would pull up and show me my past score, and it showed. And I was using the WebDB, so I don't know why people were having issues. But I want to try this one and see if I can put a tag and a value in your database.
Yeah. Sure. Play around with it.
Pauline, just a quick question. You don't have any issues with me going ahead a little bit? Just because I'm going to be on vacation next week. I just wanted to anticipate any problems I'll have next week getting work done.
No, I would just ask that you kind of talk to Ralph and I separately if you were ahead and you have questions, rather than trying to ask them at the Hangouts, because then that could overwhelm some people who aren't where you are, and I don't want that to happen. So you're welcome to email questions that you're having as you go, and I know a couple other people had went ahead as well because they were planning to go away, and as long as it's up there by the time that I check it, because I check your sites every day before your Hangout, so
Okay.
that's what matters. And if you have questions, feel free to email them.
If you see that I'm going too far down the rabbit hole, maybe going down the wrong path, would you be able to like step in and just say, "Hey, I noticed your portfolio is going in the left field and it's not right"? You'll let me know that, I hope.
Yeah, so that's why I was a little late on it, but asking everyone to enable the comments, so that way, and add me, so that way I could add comments directly to your portfolio. So I was kind of waiting for everybody to finish doing that. So today I should have a little bit more time and go through and see. I think the other day the issues that I saw, we addressed them in the Hangout, and we talked about it, trying to make sure everybody was on the same page. If you do hear something, if you feel like you did this goes for everybody, if you did your reflection and you feel like after the Hangout you feel like you have a better understanding and you want to go back and edit your reflection and add into it. Don't delete what you had originally. Just add on and say, after clarification, this is what I think now, and update your reflection, so that way you could have it as well to go back to as a resource.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I'll see everybody at 3.
Okay, take care.
Okay.
Okay.
Good luck. Was there any other questions for Ralph? I don't think so. So I'm going to end the hangout.